long have you been on Riley?
I've been at Riley for a year in June. Yeah, about a year.
Where were you at before?
So I was at Fort Novasil, Alabama, doing at flight school. So I was there for about 2 years, and then before I dropped my flight pack, I was on the trail as a drill sergeant at Fort Jackson.
Awesome.
So
what was your MOS prior to being?
I was 11 Bravo.
11 Bravo. Wow, you gave up the glory of being an infantryman.
That's okay.
For aviation. We'll edit that out so people.
No,
know.
yeah. I did, but I did it for. There's a couple of reasons, right? So, from my opinion, I loved being an infantryman.
Yeah.
It was It molded me to be the man I am today. So I was working at Applebee's in Hickory, North Carolina, not doing that much, and went out of college, decided that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Spinning my wheels, like, you know what, I gotta do something. So I went to the recruiting station, and I was like, you know what, what's the quickest way out of here? Oh, I got 11 series slot for you. Sign me up.
That's how they get you. I swear, it's the best MOS ever.
So I went in there, and then I saw my name on the dotted line, which my whole family's military. I just didn't want to be stuck on a ship like my dad was.
I was gonna say, what'd your dad do?
He was in the Navy.
Okay.
So he retired. I was called hit the ship's a boat, and he got mad at me. I was like, well, fine, I'll go camp in the woods.
Got that. And, you got him.
So I think he got me. So I went to Fort Benning, did my BCT and OSUT there, which humbled me a little bit.
Right.
And I thought I was
it's good.
19 or 18-year-old, be all end all.
Yeah.
Could do anything I want to do.
That's right.
It was a little humbling. Then after all that was complete, I went to Germany. So my first duty station was in Vilseck, Germany. That was a super fun time.
I bet.
I wish, I did a lot of traveling, which I had a little bit more money than I spent, But no, all jokes aside though, that was a really humbling time. Got to experience a lot of mentorship, and got to see most of the country that not a lot of people can see from 19 to about 22, 21, 22.
Yeah, that is. I mean, you highlighted it, expensive, but it's good to get out. That's what I mean. Even if you're somewhere like here, Fort Riley, you people want to talk about how expensive it is to go out. It's not as expensive as Europe sometimes, especially for a new soldier. But just getting out and seeing things, even wherever you're at, is like a big deal. I think people really discount the idea of community and what a community can like bring them. And I don't mean like everybody like jolly good time, get together and making sure you're like singing Kumbaya and all that stuff. I mean, just like getting out and seeing the things that like every place has to offer. I mean, in the Army, you're at most somewhere for maybe 4 years if you like extend or something happens. And so, I mean, you experience. That's what I always try to. Me and my wife always do. We try to experience everything we can before we have to move again.
And I think Europe gives you that opportunity to do that. So you're in a foreign country, you're wanting to travel, and I still talk to a whole bunch of people that was in my first unit, and those are my best friends really, because we went to NATO missions. We, sacrificed in the field. I was a private at the time, so we were traveling nonstop to go see the Neuschwanstein Castle or go see Eagle's Nest or go see all these different things that you don't get to see at 19, 20 years old.
Right.
Let alone you're by yourself. And I didn't come home one time during that time. Like if I was in Europe, I'm gonna spend my time in Europe. And so
people can come visit me if they really want
exactly.
to.
That was my mindset. Now, granted, my dad doesn't want to fly on a plane, whatever.
Well, he was in the Navy, of course. Like, tell him to get on a boat.
So I gotta, Well, I'm sorry,
Ship.
Dad. No, so I gotta see a lot of stuff that not a lot of people get to see at 19, 20, and it makes me kind of like, I'm married now, 2 kids. I want to go back there to show them.
Yeah.
I mean, I even know like here I'm close to home, but there is nothing like going to Europe and then having the beer there or drinking the beer there and having the food there. Is just a different experience.
Yeah, I mean it's it's good to get different cultures, different places. I mean, my only time there was on like a rotation, but even the times that we got to go out and do the things, it was fun. Like every time we're just, you still end up kind of migrating to a couple of places that you felt comfortable going to, but they were always good. Try something new every time, and then you find like a weird, what we'd call a hole in the wall. But it's like an amazing, it's like 6 tables and 4 chairs, but like that, the food there is amazing.
Yeah, and like going to like I went to Italy to grade EIB, and just the wine there, like being able to go to Italy and having that experience, trying the wine, the food, the pasta. Everybody says it's different, and I can 100% agree. It's completely different, and it's so good.
My favorite thing about Italy was we went to this like whatever this restaurant was, but it was a vineyard, and they did a pizza, like it was a tasting, like so you get like a slice of pizza and then they like paired a wine with it. My favorite part about that was my wife did not enjoy wine. Like she likes sweeter wines, so but like obviously most of the wines are not sweet.
No.
So I had all her wine, and there were not like tastings of wine. They were always like full cups of wine, and that was a very fun experience. After about an hour and a half of that, so
The good thing about Europe is you have, you're not going to train during breakfast time. And you're not going to train during dinner time. So you got that little period. And you get a 4-day, because you get the German holidays too, on top
nice.
of, it might have changed. This was back in 16.
yeah.
So it might have changed a little bit, but you get like your German holidays, because none of the Germans want to work during that time. And then you get your American holidays too. So it's the best of both worlds. So you get a lot of 4 days to go travel and go put in passes to go see different venues.
That's always good. Not to say we don't get enough 4 days here, but there's obviously a ton of things to see over there. So that's a great experience. So when you, I don't want to call it a boring story because your story's not boring, or at least, not to me. But you talked about, you didn't really have a plan before you came into the Army and you enlisted. What kind of made you decide, like maybe your dad was a little bit of an influence, maybe not directly but indirectly or whatever, but what kind of made you decide to kind of make that leap, into the military? Because just as you kind of think about that, my story is similar, right? Like I wasn't like downtrodden. Like I had a great like family life growing up. Didn't have like zero resources like to my life. I could have probably figured something else out, but I ended up being like, well, I don't have anything better to do, and I've always kind of been interested, so I kind of just thought and like jumped in. Is that like similar, or is there something that kind of drove you?
No, it was. I remember being when I was little. My dad was a master at arms over in the Navy, and I used to stay up until I hear all the stories. Right, watch all the war movies, Band of Brothers, The Pacific. I watched every Hamburger Hill, all the war movies that you can think of. I've probably seen it. So it's always been on the back of my mind. And I actually dep lost. So I signed at 17. I dep lost because I had a baseball scholarship to go play. Oh. And I just like, what?
Where to?
Gardner Webb.
What position?
I was second.
Okay.
So, I had 30,000 on the line. I was like, well, me and my dad talked. Like, I think I should explore this. College didn't go out the way I wanted to. Good old math. And and I think that's what brought me back to Hickory. I got a job. And it's been on my mind. It's like, hey, I didn't fulfill the first time, right? I need to fulfill and do what I needed to do. I think, well, at least that's how I felt, right? So it was always there.
Sorry to interrupt, but so when you say fulfill, like, I hate to throw the other F word out there, but you failed at something.
Yeah, 100%.
Kind of like a first time failure sort of thing?
No, I mean, I failed at multiple things.
Okay.
And I think failure is think failure is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So because it makes you grow.
Growth.
And
sure.
Like I've never been that type where if I promise something I'm gonna do something, I'm not gonna fulfill that.
Yeah.
And I didn't fulfill that, and I think that was always on my mind, and that's the reason why I decided, you know what, I was infantry the first time, I moved with my whole family dynamic going through what they're going through, and let me just go ahead and take the leap of faith. Obviously, it's there for a reason. God, had that on my shoulders for a while. So let's go do it. And it's been the best decision I've had. Like, I never thought I'd be where I'm at today, let alone flying helicopters, for the Army or just in general. And if I didn't take that leap of faith. So
speaking of which, what do you fly?
I fly the A64 Apache.
Okay. In simple terms, how fun is that?
It's probably one of the best. It's the best job move I've ever had.
Okay. So
I've ever done, I should say.
So were you in Italy? Like, so I guess where were you at when you went to walk?
So I was
an officer candidate school.
So after I did my drill sergeant time at Fort Jackson. I decided to drop my packet because like it was in that career growth where I was like, okay, do I want to be a platoon sergeant or do I want to try to do something that two things going to give me a better opportunity when I retire because I'm in it for retirement now, and number two, do something I've always wanted to do. So I've always loved aviation. never thought I had the opportunity to. And every time I would try to, something came in the way, whether it be my broading assignment, or a PCS move, or something that just kind of hindered that, or me messing up my knee a little bit. There's always a hindrance in that. So it just wasn't the right time, in my opinion. I'm pretty religious, so I was like, all right, God has a plan for where I'm going to be at and where He wants me to be at a certain time.
Absolutely, yeah.
So during that time, at the end of my drill time, my trail time, I was like, now's the time.
Yeah.
So I dropped my packet, I was selected, and then I PCS while me and my wife were dual military at the time, while she was at 101st in Poland during the whole Ukrainian conflict started. So me and my kids moved down, and I went to walks, had some help from my grandma to watch them, and that's when the whole warrant journey started.
Awesome. And so this is obviously your first duty assignment post school and all that stuff.
Yes.
So I would imagine having to learn how to fly helicopters is pretty tough, like rigorous, tedious, whatever filler word to say. It's not a simple process or school. Were you prepared for this? Do you feel like you were pretty prepared for the school, or did you feel like when you went there, not to say there's a learning curve, but there was just like, man, I need to like get in study mode, or I need to like, my mind is no longer in just task completion mode. It is, I need to sit down and learn this stuff like to be an expert.
I was keep my head above water. So once my wife, got out and she came down, it came a little bit easier, right? So you go through, first walks was in my opinion, was pretty easy. It's just like, it's like an initiation almost. Like they breed certain things into you, like time hacks and everything, which if you're coming off the trail, it's same thing. It's pretty much the same thing. You're just on the other end of it.
Because that Canaan school is all branch independent, like branch dependent. Like it's just everyone's there. Like
Yes.
it's just all like
So it's
420s.
everybody.
All yeah.
So once you go there, then you go to Wobik, and Wobik is pretty easy, I would say. Maybe learning combat vehicle identification was a little bit rough, but if you just grind and put it on the TV and just flip through the PowerPoints, you'll learn it. And then SEER was a great time. Can't get into much of that, but after that, once Common Core started, that's when you learned to fly the Lakota to 72. I think that's when I was like, oh man, what have I got myself into? And there has been times where, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I'd go back infantry right now, 100%. And then my wife came down. I think she's a better pilot than me because she probably knows all the EPs on Lakota still, and then knows all the limits because I've kind of flushed that down the toilet. But even with the 64, like she knows more than probably I will ever know because she helped me study.
Okay, I was gonna say
nonstop, right? And I think if you go down there, having a really good base, like if you have wife and kids or married with kids, having a good foundation at home is going to set you up for success there.
Yeah, that's
or in life in general, I should say.
I was going to say, I was going to say it's wildly overlooked aspect of life, but I don't think it is. I think people know. I think most of the problems sometimes soldiers have is just because there's something going on at home or something going on in life that they don't want to bring into work. But that's a different subject to dig into. But okay, so like when you're training, like what made it so difficult? Like not to say like difficult because like you didn't know what you were doing, just like what was some of the things that when you were going through? Because and I asked this because I don't know how many times just being out in the wild of whatever I'm doing, whether it's day to day at an exercise. Something I always hear junior enlisted soldiers say is, I want to become a pilot. Like I want to go put in my walk pack, like my warrant officer packet, because I want to try to go be a pilot. And I think it's very common. I think it's awesome. There are opportunities, and I think the expertise that you learn with that is awesome. But I'm always like, man, that's a lot. I feel like that's a lot. It's a hard school to get into, or it's a hard school to learn. So just from your experience, like what was difficult, whether it was just transitioning from like a different mindset of infantry to now having to do a kind of specific technical, I'd say a more technical job than tactical.
I say time management is the biggest thing that kind of, because like you go to class either morning or afternoon depending on what your schedule is, and it flips every week, and then you go fly. So you're up at wee hour in the morning to go fly or to go to class, which one ever it is, or you're staying super late to study. So time management and understanding what you need to focus on during that time. was my biggest thing. And because I try to cram everything up in one. It's like I'm trying to study everything.
Right.
Okay, maybe this can be put on till tomorrow. Let me focus on what is irrelevant now. And that was the big thing I struggled with. And then my wife, being in college during the time, online, she was able to help me kind of, tailor a study session to benefit me. So, I mean,
It's a good lady.
yeah, I got to keep her, and I'm super blessed to have her in my life. But just time management is the biggest thing I think hinders people and overwhelming. I mean, you're studying systems on top of, during the morning or afternoon time frame, and then this other period, either morning or afternoon, depending on which one you're on, you're flying an actual helicopter. So you're trying to correlate everything, and the curriculum doesn't kind of match along the lines of what you're doing that day, because you may study aerodynamics one day, but then you're in the helicopter doing auto rotations, and you're like,
These don't.
Yeah, so
these don't mesh.
trying to like stay ahead of your curriculum too, on top of knowing everything for your tests that you have, is a big thing.
So just don't be a procrastinator.
100%.
All right, Sergeant Tate, did you
100%.
take that note down? Okay, thanks. So with that, what culturally, infantry, aviation, I mean, the Army's full of different cultures, and it's actually, it's part of the fun. Like we joke about it. I mean, armor infantry is probably, some of the biggest two that butt heads. I'm an AG officer, so I definitely know what people think of, like, our stereotypes across the Army. What was kind of the biggest, like, shocker, or what is, like, the biggest, like, kind of like cultural difference that you had to deal with moving from infantry into being an aviator?
I'd say the kind of like the laid back aspect, because infantry, you're a go.
That checks.
You got a whole bunch of pit bulls over there. I may or may not have been one as an E5 where I was like, I want everything done here now, right? But you look at crew chiefs who are working on helicopters on a day-to-day basis, and this goes to all three platforms. They work their butt off nonstop. So I can say I have the coolest job in the world, which I do, but I wouldn't have the coolest job if it wasn't for the enlisted guys working on the helicopters.
Right.
The Tangos who are just grinding, day and night, 12 hours a day, fixing what we break, those are the heroes of the Army.
Yeah.
And so seeing how they mesh, being in first duty station, because when you're in flight school, you're with your peers. You're with a whole bunch of lieutenants and then W1s. So you already get that vibe from everybody, right? Then you come here and you see, like, that's when you get the shift in, oh crap, NCOs are a little bit laid back here. Not saying that they're not doing their job,
Right.
but there's a different respect that you have. I would kind of tailor that to. So with that being said, coming from a trail, seeing like NCOs not being pit bulls is like, all right, I gotta know where I'm at now.
Yeah.
They have a trade. They work, on different various tasks. That's not my lane anymore.
Yeah.
So, that's what I've been. I think after the first month, I kind of got that vibe. Like, okay, I can be a warrant.
Just dial
now.
it back a little bit. Yeah.
I'm not an enlisted guy anymore. I'm no longer in charge of, XYZ of soldiers, right? I can mentor them, and that's, if they ask me for advice or whatever they want to do, then I'll give them my honest feedback. But we're in a different realm now, different world.
But what was just one more question about school? What was that one thing that when you learned, or whatever it was about, like, just being a pilot, or about the helicopter itself, that you were just like, wow, this is pretty incredible?
Once I completed the bag phase in the Apache course.
Okay, what's that mean?
So we fly off of system, so the NVS, and you can't really get many night flights in until you learn how to fly your symbology within our HDU and our eye. So what they do is you are flying backseat, and they put bags on all the windows so you can't see outside. So you're strictly flying off our FLIR system. So once I was able to complete that, and I've had some emotional events there, and I probably would have went back to infantry during that time. Once I completed that, I'm like, okay, I did it. Because everything else I feel like was downhill from there. Because now you get your second eye back.
Yeah.
You can see outside when you're flying at night a little bit. Which
is generally safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the
Right.
the IP doesn't.
Yeah.
do
There's
that,
a safety.
So after I did that, that was a big milestone in my career. I feel like just in general, because I did something that not a lot of people get to do.
Right.
And that was a big stigma between the Blackhawks and Chinooks and the Apaches. Like, hey, we can do this, but you guys can't. All three aircraft are remarkable in their own.
But Apaches are obviously better.
Yeah,
just like
just a
1%.
little bit, just a
Like
little
1%.
bit. Even though
better,
we call them hangar princesses, but
Yeah.
no one needs to know that. No, I get it. I was able to accomplish that, and that was actually really rewarding.
And so when you got selected to be, or I guess like you got to choose to be.
It's all OML based.
Okay.
So you gotta do good in
But it was
Common Core.
First choice to be an Apache pilot.
My first choice was C-12.
Okay. Well,
Fixed wing.
I feel like that's probably everybody's
But
first choice.
After
But
that,
you're right.
After that, it was Apaches because I have to give back to the ground guys, in my opinion. So like I know what they do. I know how they maneuver. I know what the ground force would want to know if I was on the ground. I've had that experience on the ground, so I felt it was only right to, give back and become an Apache pilot. Plus, I get to shoot stuff, and I get to, protect others. So that was a big reason why I chose what I chose.
So very recently, and I guess the more time goes, it's not as recent as it was. But you were at NTC this January, correct?
I was.
So you guys got to do, well, from what I like to think, you guys got to do a lot of cool stuff out there. Stuff that we see you guys flying all the time. We know you guys do your tables like here, and you guys you guys do get to shoot for gunnery and all that stuff, which I think you just completed, correct?
Yes, we did.
Okay, well, congratulations. I guess what was that experience like? Because actually being, everyone always says yeah, we do maneuver stuff, but at NTC it's different, right? You get this whole new world of experience. You guys got to do a really cool mission, where you actually flew 200 plus nautical miles, which is really far, I think, in your world. I don't know if you've ever done that before.
Yeah.
Just kind of detail what that was like, and I guess just tell everybody how cool that was.
So I wasn't able to fly the mission because I was still in progression.
Well then, darn.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer, but I got to set everything up for success, right? So I'm the common rep for our company, and I was, make sure they had SATCOM, communications aspects to fulfill that mission, and seeing all the aircraft get up and actually go execute the mission is actually really rewarding, just being on the ground side,
right? And
just being that I was a little piece to accomplish a bigger mission. So whether I fly the mission or not, seeing the mission be completed and was successful, and I had a little bit of little hand in that, was super rewarding.
So kind of a jack of all trades sort of job then. So because everyone thinks you're just a pilot, not to say that you don't do extra things. Everybody knows in the Army you're doing something outside of your job. But technically, so do you? What is your, outside of being a pilot? What else do you do?
So right now I am the common rep for Charlie Company 11, and all that tells is make sure we have fills for our SKLs and make sure that our aircraft are filled for anything that we need for a mission set. So with our tables coming up, we had to make sure we were on, a certain type of fill, make sure all of our aircraft are set up to be successful for that, and to utilize all of our capabilities within the aircraft.
Okay, so that's good. Just a little additional duty there. What you kind of going to go back? I've been thinking about this in my head ever since you said. I might have misheard you. But you said that your wife got out while you were at Warrant Officer, or when you were transitioning, or whenever there was a time. What did she do?
So she was a 42 Alpha.
Oh, gosh, just even better. A smart lady. How, I guess, she enjoy her time? How'd that go? What led you to that kind of, I guess, the transformative family decision there?
Just being in two places, or being in two different locations with two kids. So we really, our family prides herself being together.
Yeah.
So the Army, there's going to be times in your career where you're going to be separated, which we all know that. But with the route I was taking, and she's done this multiple times, was she had to make a decision to, help me out and be with us and let me progress, and put her career on the side, which I hate to say, I don't want my wife to do that, but she made that call, and now she's here, and I don't know, it's kind of, I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for her doing that. Let's just say that way.
No, I 100%. Me and my wife are both dual military as well. We're both 42, so that's why your wife's 10 times cooler than you already. So that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. It's always tough to make those family decisions, and I think that's a lot of families do that. I know a lot of people think just being dual military is hard in general, regardless of how easy or how easy some days are, how easy you can make it look sometimes, because then you throw kids in the mix, and kids don't ever agree with your career decisions, just because they'll always get like sick at the wrong time or whatever else. So that's good. I think that's
I think it's doable if leadership backs that family up, right? And we've had great leadership throughout, whether she was at Fifth Group or when I was at 101st or even here. We've had great leadership in order to help us out when certain things arises, which was very beneficial.
So when choosing, whenever you get your platform, you can probably go anywhere. That obviously where there's Apaches, which is a lot of places. Where was Riley at on your guys' list of places to come?
So it's all OML based again, or merit list. Make sure that hey, if you put in the due diligence of studying and make sure you're on top of the OML, you can choose wherever you want to go. I was about 2 on my OML, and I chose. I wanted to go to Carson. My buddy took that one. My wife said no to Bragg. So Riley was number 3. I'm from Nebraska, so I'm a big Nebraska fan.
Dude, are you serious?
I'm 100% from
Where
Lincoln.
Where are you from?
Lincoln,
I'm from
Nebraska.
Omaha. I went to Lincoln for college.
I'm jealous for one. I lived in
big deal.
Omaha. I lived in Ralston.
Oh, okay. Oh, dude,
Put my elk tag in for on post elks, so you have that for
fingers
you.
crossed, yeah.
Then you have mule deers out west, and whitetail are huge here compared to North Carolina.
Do you travel anywhere else to hunt, or is it just like we're here to stay in the area? There's obviously plenty of places to hunt around here.
With like NTC at the beginning of the year, we stayed here for most of it. I think this year, we're supposed to go we're doing a rotation next year, so we'll probably just stay this year again.
Okay.
So, but there's plenty of places to go around here. Like you could travel within 3 hours and within Kansas and still have success.
See, that's Great Plains for you. So what's your favorite thing to hunt?
Ducks, 100%.
Ducks?
Yes.
Not chickens?
No.
I hunt chickens at the store, but that's it.
You can't find eggs, so.
So what? Why ducks? Because you just said like super confidently, 100%.
You don't have to be quiet for the most part.
That's good.
2, you can have I bring my kids with me. They like it.
So you don't have to be quiet.
So exactly, and you can bring people who've never been hunting before, and you can have most of the time have success. Some people don't like to sit in a tree and be quiet, like me. So, I will though.
But
you can get out there and get up super early in the morning, watch the sunrise. You can stay all day and watch sunset. There's nothing like being out in nature and then being in the marsh or with your kids, just enjoying it and seeing them smile the whole time.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I like to do it.
That's awesome. Have you brought a lot of people out with you, from the unit, to people that never hunted before? Or is it you got a good little group of folks?
Yeah, I brought a couple people from my company who'd never been hunting before, and I'm doing it this year again. So, getting them out to actually go see nature and then actually enjoy it and learn, who want to learn, is actually really rewarding. And I like to teach, so sometimes it's good just to go out there and just watch other people have fun.
So you haven't really been here that long. How much longer do you have here on Fort Riley? Normal, you're just still here for a normal 3-year assignment, or do pilots do a little differently?
I think pilots, and I think this is subject to change, so don't quote me on it, but I believe they're here.
Actually, everything you say is quoted on here.
Well, sorry.
Don't hold you to it.
I think when I left flight school, they were talking about our first duty station will be here for 5 years.
Okay.
So I have 4 more years here. Now, whether that changes or not within the next couple of years, I think anything's possible with the Army. Anything changes, everything changes. But if I have my way with it, I'm going to try to stay here for 4 because, I have a house here.
Yeah.
My kids are growing up they're starting elementary school here. I want them to have some type of roots, established, and they like it here, and I like it here. So.
We're right there with you. I mean, we'll try to stay anywhere long enough so the kids have a little bit of time to have as much stability as we can allow that to be. So, because I was going to ask you what's next for you, but I guess being a pilot on Fort Riley for 4 years would be the answer to that. So you were once this person who wanted to go do something different, and you wanted to be a pilot. What would be your advice for those people that maybe fully don't understand the rigors of it and they think it's like it's that cool thing, and the cool thing in the sky and the clouds that they look at and they're like, well, it's way cooler than what I'm doing now because I'm just a maintainer or an infantryman or an armorman or a cook or something, and that looks way cooler. But what would you kind of give as far as like advice to people that aspire to be a pilot?
Take the leap and be committed, because even when you're out of flight school, the studying doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So you're going to be studying for your PC board. You're going to be studying for IPC, IPC, MTP. You're going to go to all these schools, and it's just going to. The best advice I got is like once you make PC, you're back to being a private again.
What's that mean?
So pilot in command.
Okay.
So when you're at flight school, you're like a private. You have to learn all this stuff all over again, right?
Yeah.
Something totally new. Then once you make PC, you're back to being a private because you're going to be learning your limits as what you're going to do inside the aircraft, what you're comfortable with, and you're going to be learning that all over again. So it's a constant studying that you have to do. And for me, I didn't realize that until I came into aviation, that even when I'm at home for maybe like 30 minutes, I will read something that may pertain to me, not now, but later.
Yeah.
So just be committed in what you're doing and commit 100%. So, and I think that you should do that in everything you do in life,
right?
In my opinion.
I was gonna say that's just great advice overall.
But if you want to go this route, it is super rewarding when you're out there. You get 4 aircraft up to do a live fire gunnery event, right? Or the 8 to 12 ship missions that we did from here to Nebraska City last year. Being committed in what you do is one, going to benefit you and benefit your unit as well. Because once they see that you're committed, you're going to breed excellence throughout the formation. So that would be my advice. But I see a lot of junior enlisted that are scared to make the jump for failure.
Yeah,
it's okay to fail. It's fine to fail. It's just what did you fail on and improve yourself from there.
Right.
And not a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
They're comfortable and stagnant where they're at instead of making that leap.
I would 100% agree with you. It sucks sometimes because that feel like you never want to feel that feeling, but it just shows you like how much harder to prepare for either next time if you get a second chance or for the next thing in life if it happens to be something different, because nobody likes to get caught flat-footed like that. So
yeah, I have. When I was a drill, I failed Ranger School, so failed my 5 mile by 5 seconds because I dropped my popsicle stick. But I improved that, where if that ever happened again, I'm not going to be. That's not going to be my downfall.
Right.
So,
well, Dylan Jackson, Warrant Officer 1, Mr. Jackson, thank you for coming on today. I truly appreciate everything that you shared. I think it's good for people to hear a good transition story. As I think what we've kind of come to find out is not all stories are the same, but people have like a lot of different paths to getting to do the thing that they wanted to do. It may not always be that first thing you do in the military because that's what your recruiter signed you up to do. But you do get to find out there are better opportunities out there, and I think you're kind of a walking testament to that. So thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome.